Rain streaked across the windows of the Sunrise Diner, a cozy little spot nestled on a quiet street in downtown Seattle. The kind of place where regulars came for comfort food and familiar faces, and where one waitress, Lena Carter, knew almost every customer by name. At 28, Lena moved with practiced grace between the booths, balancing trays and flashing her warm, easy smile. Life hadn't gone easy on her dead-end jobs, and a dream of studying design she'd never had the money to chase. But she had grit. She didn't complain. She worked. She endured. That afternoon, the diner was quiet. The storm outside had kept most folks home. Around 3:00 p.m., a man walked in, tall, lean, mid-30s, a gray hoodie, jeans, and a baseball cap. Nothing flashy, but Lena noticed the details. The Rolex peeking from his sleeve, the custom leather boots, the way he carried himself like someone who was used to making decisions and being heard. He slid into a corner booth and ordered a black coffee. "No sugar." "Name's Ethan," he said with a polite nod, eyes scanning the room behind dark-rimmed glasses. Lena smiled. "Welcome to Sunrise, Ethan." She poured his coffee and returned to wiping down the counter. But just minutes later, someone else walked in. Another man. Someone she didn't recognize. He wore a heavy coat, despite the mild weather, and a knit cap pulled low over his brow. He didn't order anything, just sat 2 booths behind Ethan and kept looking up. It wasn't obvious unless you were someone who watched people for a living. Lena's instincts told her something was off. The man kept glancing at Ethan. His hand hovered over a satchel at his side. Not a phone, not a book, just fidgeting. "Wait." Lena casually walked over to Ethan and refilled his coffee. Slowly. "Something wrong with the food?" he asked with a faint smile. She leaned in slightly. "That man behind you, he's been watching you since he came in. He hasn't ordered a thing. You might want to be careful." Ethan blinked, then lowered his gaze to his coffee, processing her words. "Thank you," he said softly. He reached into his jacket, slid a few crisp bills under his mug, and stood calmly. He adjusted his cap and walked out, as if nothing had happened. The man in the heavy coat waited 30 seconds, then followed. Lena stood frozen, heart pounding. Something about the whole thing didn't feel like coincidence. Her gut told her she'd just stepped into something big, something dangerous. But what could she have done? Say nothing and regret it forever? She shook off the nerves, trying to convince herself it was nothing. Maybe the guy was just odd. Maybe Ethan was just some regular guy. But even after the storm had passed, even after her shift ended, that uneasy feeling lingered. What Lena didn't know was that in less than 24 hours, everything was about to change. And it all started with a man in a hoodie and a warning, spoken purely from instinct and kindness. The next morning, the skies had cleared, but the Sunrise Diner buzzed with an odd tension. Lena was wiping a table near the window when she noticed something strange. 5 black SUVs, parked across the street, tinted windows, gleaming clean, not your average crowd. Then the door opened. In walked the man from yesterday. But this time, he wasn't wearing a hoodie. He wore a tailored navy suit, crisp white shirt, leather shoes that probably cost more than Lena's monthly rent. His glasses were gone. His posture? Different. Strong. Purposeful. The quiet man who once blended in was now impossible to miss. Lena froze mid-step. Ethan smiled as he walked up to the counter. "Hi, Lena." She blinked, then managed a nervous smile. "Back for more black coffee?" He chuckled. "Something like that. Mind if I talk to you for a minute?" The other waitstaff exchanged looks as Lena stepped aside with him. Her heart was pounding, part nerves, part curiosity. "I owe you," Ethan said. "Yesterday? Your warning saved me. That man who followed me, he had a weapon in his bag. He was under investigation for stalking high-profile executives." Lena's eyes widened. "Are you serious?" He nodded. "I'm CEO of Cross. I was laying low after a series of threats. You saw something. Even my own security missed. Because of you, we stopped him before anything could happen." Lena could hardly believe what she was hearing. I didn't think much of it. It felt wrong, that's all." "That's exactly why it mattered," Ethan replied. Most people ignore their instincts. You didn't. He reached into his jacket and handed her a sleek envelope. Inside, a check. 100,000, made out in her name. Beneath it, another paper. A full scholarship, Seattle School of Design. Her dream college. Tuition, supplies, even housing all covered. I remembered you mentioned your art, Ethan said. I had someone check out your sketches on the wall here. You're talented, Lena. She was speechless, tears welled in her eyes. I don't even know what to say. You don't have to, Ethan said warmly. But there's more. He turned to the diner's owner, Frank, a gruff man who'd been standing nearby. I also bought the diner this morning, Ethan added. Frank's retiring, and he thought you deserved more than tips and long hours. Lena gasped. Wait, you bought the diner? You now own 50, Ethan said with a smile. The other half's managed by a foundation I created to support working women. You can run this place, or sell your share and follow your dream full time. Either way, you're free. The diner had gone completely quiet. Everyone was watching. Lena looked around at the coworkers who'd seen her struggles, the regulars who had become like family. Then, she looked back at Ethan. You changed my life, she whispered. No, Ethan replied. You changed mine. You reminded me there are still good people in this world, people who act without expecting anything in return. They shook hands. And then, in a rare moment of emotion, Ethan added, and if you ever want a job designing for Cross, I know someone. He walked out the same door he'd entered. But this time, the entire diner stood in silence as the black SUVs rolled away. Lena stood there holding the envelope, eyes glistening with tears and gratitude. Sometimes, doing the right thing doesn't just protect others. It unlocks a future you never imagined.